Okay, Gerardo, how are things going with your...
I think it's very fine. I corrected the lip tree already. Everything is correct.
Okay.
And the method section, I changed one instrument, so I also corrected that. And I haven't started the results.
Okay. Did you get my message about what to also include your coding?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about what to include for that?
We have to write in the procedure what we did.
Yeah, just mention one sentence, something about how you analyzed your work in the coding system, and then you can say see appendix, whatever, to see the details. But basically, it's an outline for coding, and I think I sent you all an example. I think it was on page 9 of the link that I sent to the document. It had an example. Basically, it's category, subcategory, and the codes.
Yeah.
So almost backwards to what you started. You started with the codes probably, and then from the codes you went to categories. So just have like an outline form of the codes that you used in categories. And do you have any questions about how you want to organize your results and discussion?
Yes, actually, I don't know how to start reading.
Okay, let's pull up your document here and take a look. Okay, do you have your research questions listed in this paragraph right before your method section? The teacher should be aware that this research will try to find out which number. Okay, I would recommend specifically state the research questions. So the purpose of this is to investigate the following research questions. And just to comment here, make sure that all level 2 headings are all the way to the left. Notice that you have this indentation here, so you can just remove the indentation, making sure that all level 2 headings are all the way to the left. So, all right, so you're looking at verbal, nonverbal strategies. Okay. So the first thing you need to figure out is try to divide up the answers. Remember that the results and discussion section are basically the answers to your research questions. Mm-hmm. So ask yourself, how do you want to organize the answers to your research questions? And so that would be my first question to you is thinking in terms of maybe 2 or 3 main sections in your results and discussion section. How would you like to organize your answers? What do you want to talk about first? What do you want to talk about second if you're looking at some broad categories?
I was thinking first which strategies they use, both verbal and non-verbal. And then discuss why they use those strategies.
So which strategies and then why they use them? All right, so what data sources? Let's look at the first section. Which strategies that the teachers used? Which data sources are you planning on using that you could use to talk about this one topic? A data source meaning interview, observation, questionnaire.
The interview.
And these are interviews with whom?
Teachers from.
Okay.
The
okay. What else?
The observations too.
What else?
And maybe the questionnaire also can work.
Yeah. Anything else? All right. Now the why do they use them? What data sources?
Interviews. All interviews.
with the teacher?
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Nothing else?
Maybe the questionnaire to see how.
All right. Anything else? Anyone? All right. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is whatever you choose, whatever categories that you decide to choose, ideally you want to have at least 3 data sources, because this then would be considered triangulation, triangulating the data. So I would recommend that you have at least 2 data sources with regard to whatever you talk about. Whatever you want to talk about, I would say at least 2, ideally 3 different data sources. I would avoid talking about anything where you only have 1 data source, because that's only an invitation to possible problems later on. Even if it seems like it's very important information, and it might be very important and interesting information, and it might answer your research question, but if you only have 1 data source, then you're opening yourself up to even more questions. Then you say, well, okay, the teacher said this, but what did you observe? Well, I didn't observe anything. Well, what did the students say in the questionnaire? Well, I didn't answer questions. So you're going to run into problems.
Yeah.
So ideally 3 is like the magic number here, but at least 2. So the first question I would ask is if you're comfortable with the number of data sources that you have to address this, to be able to, talk about anything from different perspectives. And do you think that these are enough data sources? If there are, for example, if you chose a different topic where you said, well, I always have these 3 data sources I could use, that I can talk about this topic and this topic from a broad, these 2 broad areas, that would be better. If you came up with 2 general topics or even 3 general topics, but that we're all addressed, or we're all coming from at least a little bit from these 3 data sources, that would be better than having a whole section with just 2 data sources. And maybe the why is embedded in here too someplace, but at the end of the day, you want to try to have close to 3 if possible with regard to any topic that you talk about. So what do you think? Is this something you want to continue with like this, or is there any other possible ways you can organize your data?
I think I can mix this because I was thinking on from the observation, like write what I see and maybe what I think from that.
Okay, so these would be your own observations. So maybe there's a why. Yeah, it's hard to know. I mean, the why usually has to come from the teacher. But if you notice something that is either contrary to what they say, right, then that's or even if it's supportive of what they say that they do, then that's fine. So just as long as you don't misunderstand an observation as you interpreting why, the why has to come from them. You can agree or disagree or confirm or not confirm what they say they do that relates to why they do it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of related, but kind of indirectly. All right. So just keep this in mind. This is very important, the idea of triangulation, the idea of using different data sources to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. All right. Now, let's say that we go with this, if you want to go with this arrangement. So we have which strategies. Now, from these which strategies, from this one topic, you need to come up with a few subtopics, a few ideas that you want to talk about. These ideas will probably be in the form of paragraphs, maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs, depending. And so the first thing then you need to think about is, okay, how do you want to organize this? Which strategies? So do you have any ideas that the types of strategies that you want to talk about?
Repetition, dictionary use, and the other was use of media.
All right. Now, so we have these three here. Now, when you start developing the results and discussion section, remember that the results and discussion section is going to be one section, right? So you're going to have a level 1 heading called results and discussion section, and then you're going to have a level 2 heading that's going to represent this idea. You're going to have another level 2 heading that will represent this idea, a group of words. Very much just like this, participants, except it'll be all the way over to the left. Okay, so this will be results and discussion. Should already be here. Okay, so this will be your first subtitle, just as I have here. Okay, so in your case, it looks like you're just going to have 2. That's fine. You'll just have 2 here, and you can eliminate this one. All right. Now, what we're talking about here is going to be within each of these sections. Okay. And probably in the form of paragraphs. Now, the thing with the results and discussion section is that it makes sure that you always have a good balance between what are results and what is a discussion. The hard part of this section is first making that distinction, and the second, making sure that you have a good balance between the two. So basically, there are 2 ways to do this. Remember that in the results and discussion section, you're still going to develop paragraphs. Just like you did in the lit review, you need to have a topic sentence, and then you need to have supporting sentences. Now, the paragraphs in the results and discussion section might be a little bit different than the paragraphs in the literature review. Let me explain. Let's say that you start with your results. So you have paragraph 1, and you start off with the topic sentence, and then you start giving your results. Now, your results, you're talking about your results coming from interviews, observations, questionnaires. Now, when they're coming from interviews, questionnaires, specifically interviews, they're going to be direct quotes, so include a lot of direct quotes. The teacher said this word for word. Okay? You observed this. Now, this is your own what you observed. This is not your interpretation yet. This is just, you observed this. The teacher actually said that, or the teacher did this. The students did this. Okay? But be careful not to insert observations yet. It's first results. And then anything from the questionnaire that relates, again, to this, in this case, repetition. And we're only talking about repetition. So topic 1, repetition. Topic sentence, tell us something about repetition from these data sources. Okay. Now, you may have 1 paragraph of all just results. So you have main idea, and then you talk about interview, observations, and questionnaires, for example. Then your last sentence, you'll have maybe a link. Okay. So the last sentence of each body paragraph still will be a link. But in this case, this paragraph is a little bit different than the paragraph in a typical paragraph in your literature review, because you don't have the analyzed sentence. Remember, in your lit review, we talked a lot about main idea, evidence, analyze, and link, having those 4 types of sentences. Well, this paragraph could be different. Maybe you just have all results in that 1 paragraph because you're talking about these different data sources with no interpretation. That's okay. That's one way to do it. You could have the topic sentence, evidence, the last sentence, a link. Then you go to the next paragraph. Now, the second paragraph is going to be all your discussion about what you just mentioned. So it's going to be a topic sentence, and then you're analyzing.
Everything.
Yeah, there's no evidence here in the second paragraph, in this example, because you've already presented all of your data here in this paragraph. So the second paragraph is going to be your interpretation, your discussion. That's where this comes in. If you have direct quotes from authors to support your discussion, you can insert those in the second paragraph. But notice that the citations in the second paragraph now are analyzed sentences, not evidence sentences like they were. So don't be confused. These are a little bit different now.
Yeah, so in the first paragraph, I only quote what the teacher said.
In this, this is one way to do it.
In the second paragraph, I can quote authors from the literature.
Right. Preferably, you mention something and then mention something from the author, like your interpretation, and then you tell us, is this, what the experts say, or this is completely different, and it doesn't matter which is which, but you are making that comparison or contrast with the authors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So this is one way to do it. Now there's a second way to do it. The second way would be to insert within that first paragraph, again, you're going to have a topic sentence, you talk about repetition, and then you talk about some evidence here, and then you analyze this. Then you talk about another piece of evidence, and you analyze. So here in this one paragraph, you have a little bit of evidence, and then your discussion, a little bit of evidence, your discussion, a little bit of evidence, your discussion, and then linking sentence. So you could also have it like this. It all depends on how much data that you have and what it is you're talking about, right? And which way would be a little bit, easier to follow, right? You want to make it clear, make yourself understood. So you have to ask yourself, would the reader understand it this way better, having all the results in one paragraph and then I talk about it, or would it be make more sense to, in this particular case, on this one topic of repetition, I mix it within one paragraph. Let's say you finish with repetition, you go on to dictionary use. You can choose one or the other. You can mix within your whole paper. It just depends on what you want to say about this. And ask yourself, what's the easiest way, right, to understand what I want to say? Because now your goal is to be understood.
Yeah.
Right? You want me, the reader, or whomever reads your paper, to understand what you want to say. So it has to be, don't try to make it any more confusing. Try to make it very basic and present your ideas in a very clear, coherent way. Just keep it simple, because you have a lot of data here. So you have to really figure out, okay, what to use, what not to use. There's going to be information that you're not going to use, which is fine. You don't feel like you have to. In fact, you shouldn't use all the information. Use the most important information that best answers your research questions. Okay, so these are basically two ways that you can do it. At the end of the day, you need to make sure that you have a good balance between the results and the discussion, that you don't have too many of one and not enough of the other. And make sure that you present the results first. Don't interpret anything without presenting the results. It'll be like, oh, how did you present that? I mean, how do you understand that if you haven't presented the results first? So always present the results first, then discuss the results. Okay, so yeah, this is one way to do it, and maybe you have two paragraphs talking about repetition. If you choose this way, perhaps you have one paragraph. It just depends. Maybe you have more than two paragraphs. It just depends on what ideas about repetition it is. That's why these topic sentences are very important. The hardest part of this section are the topic sentences, especially this section, because the tendency is to put up a graph and have little text. I see this a lot. It's like, and so you should use images and tables, whatever you need, visuals that you think help. But remember that the purpose of a visual is to complement what you are trying to articulate in language and text. So if it's easier to use a table, right, then use it, but make sure that you describe and you talk about the most important parts of that image or that table. You don't have to talk about all the information in the table, but the most relevant and important information that the reader can interpret from using it. Okay? You try to use visuals, but realize that you are still developing paragraphs around a coherent set of ideas.
Yeah.
And that's our goal here, is to keep it coherent. So if it helps, sometimes it helps to put just your topic sentences first, right, and then go back and fill in the paragraph, whatever works for you, right, or a separate outline. But it does help to have this thought out beforehand, right? Because now you know where you're going. You're going to talk about this first, you're going to talk about this, and you're going to talk about this, all within this head. And then in the why, same thing. 2 or 3 ideas, right? And there's nothing magical about 3 ideas, but present your ideas here and think about what you want to talk about before you start writing up everything, because you need to know where you're going with this. Because all this, at some point, needs to be related to this to a degree. So write out your thoughts about how you want to present your whole results and discussion section, and then start filling in here using a good balance of results and discussion.
The quotes, can I recycle quotes or they have to be new quotes from the author?
You can recycle them. Yeah, you can recycle quotes. And certainly you can, you want to try to use the same references that
Yeah.
you used right before. So you don't want to use necessarily any new references. If you had a direct quote,
I can paraphrase.
You can direct quote or paraphrase as long as I'm trying to think here. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that, with direct quoting something that you've already direct quoted. I think, yeah, I was going to say what's more common, either direct quote or even if you find another quote from the same author, then you can do that also. So yeah, I don't see a problem there. Yeah, I guess it depends on how much you do it. But I mean, you don't want to overdo anything. So, but yeah, I don't see anything wrong with using the same direct quote as long as it's relevant to what you're doing. That's fine. What else? Any other questions? Does this kind of make sense? Do you have kind of an idea?
Yes.
Or do you want to talk about specifically these topics, or do you have doubts about what topics to include in the why? Or do you need to think about it some more?
I think I need to think about it.
Okay.
So far, I think.
And this is just an example. The idea here is how can you logically answer your questions and be understood. Just lay it out simple. Try to make it any more complicated. It's an answer. It's one big answer. And so the question is, how do I organize an answer to my questions that I posed in my literature review? So go ahead and start writing up, and feel free to start, even if it's little by little, writing up here in Google Drive. And if you want to outline this first, you want me to look at it, or you want additional feedback once you've thought about it a little bit more, let me know. Send me an email on Canvas, and I'll make comments in Google Drive if you want to look at the outline. Otherwise, just keep writing it up, and we'll look at it next week. One change, I uploaded an announcement in Canvas about the due date. I forgot that we don't have class on the 23rd, so it's one day before.
Yeah.
So just kind of figure that into your plan. But yeah, so let's try to continue writing it there, and if you don't have any questions for this week, next week, our next tutoring session, we'll look at whatever you have. So at that point, and I'll give you feedback. But don't if you're kind of lost, don't spend any time feeling lost. Come by, let's talk about it. The organization is the big one here. If you can get your head around this, then writing is going to be, I think, a lot easier. Okay, as long as you know what to talk about, the direction that you're taking, and just include the most important information.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay. So then I'll see you next week.
Next week or this week?
Or this week. Questions. Absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, see you later.